Did you anybody happen to see the videos? I guess I put them up yesterday from last week.
Oh no, I didn't see them. Let's see here.
Yeah, see if
They
take a look at them and see. There's
Life changing videos in the email
the
or
life changing, yeah, the life changing videos, yeah. So I put two
by
of them
what you
up.
sent them by email or by messenger?
No, no, no. They go to your email. If you're on my
Okay.
email list, you get
Okay.
them.
Yeah, I
So
see. That's where I see that phrase. Yeah.
yeah, and
let's see.
so I put two of them up yesterday, but now I'm putting up pictures and little messages. I'm putting more messages underneath, you know. So let me know if you like that because I think it makes it more user friendly or more valuable or something, you know. And also, I figured out a fairly easy way to get a transcript. So now I can do a transcript in just a few minutes.
This video looks good. I'd be interested in watching anything. The
Yeah,
graphics are great.
yeah, thanks. Now that I've figured out an easy way to get a transcript of these videos, I can do a search like a word search or something on those using Microsoft Word, and then put it into the spreadsheet. So, like for example, the video that I uploaded yesterday, the second one was about how to contact your future self. You know, well, that's like a 25-minute video, 30-minute video or something. Really, really practical. You know, so I could put that into a spreadsheet like the one that you sent us, and you know, if somebody says, "Hey, I want to watch this video on you know uploading or contacting your future self," where is it? You know, now they can you know they could theoretically find it, right? And if I did a search through all of my transcripts for future self, I could find all the places that I've talked about that, you know, or that we've talked about it over the last 2 years, right? So there might be 50 different places that we've talked about it. So all of those things could be indexed, you know, um, because now that I have this huge resource, all this information, it's not really much good unless you can find it. It's like you know,
Exactly.
it's like if you can't find your Phillips screwdriver when you want it, it's just like not having one. You know, if you can't retrieve it, right? Which is the you know, which is the way that I look at that workbook, the mental magic workbook, right? It's like when you write down your past successes on your past successes list and you have a whole list of them there, and especially when you do the worksheet, the past successes worksheet, which is there's three columns. The middle column, I think, you write down what does it mean, and then the other column you write down what are the feelings, right? So one feeling might be feeling successful or feeling, you know, proud or feeling like you solved a problem, you figured something out, you know, that feeling of aha, I did it, you know. Um, so that's the value, one of the biggest values I think of having that workbook and that like past successes list, for example, because when you want to, you know, when you're stuck on a problem and you're getting frustrated and you can't figure it out, you can go, well, wait a second, you know, I actually did something very similar in the past. I just have to use my imagination, go back to that past situation where I figured out a difficult problem to give myself some motivation and some inspiration and some belief, you know. So the value of having the information available is huge because we all have so many more successes than we can remember. And if you can't remember them, of course, then it's like you don't even have it. It's like, you know, you can't find the screwdriver when you want it, right? So, yeah, so that workbook I find is incredible. And so, yesterday when I was talking about this, contacting your future self, right? Well, that's an easy thing to understand. I mean, especially if you look at it as an analogy or as virtually the same thing as contacting your past self. Like everybody knows they can remember their past, right? Of course, most of it is gone. Most of the information is gone, but you can retrieve it. So when you think about, remembering being in high school, for example, winning, getting a touchdown playing high school football or something like that, if that's one of your past successes. If you think about that as contacting your past self in that moment, right? Then contacting your future self who's just achieved a goal, that makes much more sense, right? It's like, oh, hey, I can talk to my past self, I can talk to my future self, right? And of course, how many past selves do you have? Well, you have like 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, because each instance, like for example, that one I just gave of scoring a touchdown in a high school football game, that might have only happened once in 3 years of playing high school football. You might have only scored one touchdown. So every time you got the ball and got tackled or ran out of bounds or fumbled, you don't necessarily want to contact those past selves, because they weren't necessarily successful, right? But you want to remember the one where you ran through the entire opposing team and straight armed everybody out of the way, and everybody cheered, and you got the touchdown. So you have thousands of in a sense, past selves, certainly past moments, right? And then the idea of contacting your future self, then it's easier to swallow, I think. It's easier to understand if you say, well, yeah, I want to do this thing a year from now, so I'm just going to go to the future self that's done it. And like Greg was saying last week, feeling the wish fulfilled, right? Which is, of course, what people have been telling us for years, using affirmations in the present tense. Or even better, the past tense. I have just achieved this goal, right? There's the affirmation. So you can use the language to, in a sense, force your mind to go to that place, If I say, imagine how you're going to feel a year from now when you pick up your degree that you're studying for, that you're so frustrated studying about, imagine how it's going to be when you get your degree. And then, imagine when you get your first job because of that degree. Oh yeah, go there, go to that place. So learning how to put your mind there. Like I mentioned when I was thinking about that speaking gig in England, right? I thought to myself, well, I'll just go to the future self who's talking in England and ask him how he did it. And the answer was, I sent an email to a bunch of positive thinking groups and asked them to invite me to speak. And one of them said yes. So I'm planning another trip to Europe, and guess what I'm doing now? Positive thinking groups in Barcelona. Positive thinking groups in Paris, right? So why not? It worked last time, So yeah. So I think the last couple of videos from last week that I put up there, because I just spent a couple of days editing them, so I'm very familiar with what they're about, right? And that's what we talked about. Visiting the future self, Any questions?
Hey, I put a link in the chat group to this Excel sheet that I created.
Oh,
it's
good.
kind of that is a mirror of your notebook, so you can click on it and it can take you to each of the sub worksheets and back and forth.
Right.
And then I put copyright under your name on it, just so it wouldn't be passed out without your permission. And then I put a link next to each section that says home, so it goes back. So if you're in the master workbook, there's like 6 tabs, and it takes you to the 6 areas. But then if you at each of them at the top of the page says home, so it takes you back to the master menu. And then in the sub page, then it would have all the different pages that's in that category. So you could have, one for mental, for example. You'll have dream list, priority of ease, priority of desire, and it takes you to that little section. And then there's a home, so it takes you back to the top of the sub worksheet. So
okay,
kind of
yeah,
nested.
I'll check that out. So
Yeah.
so we can download that or whatever you put it.
Yeah, you should be able to just copy it and put it on your desktop, and then save a backup copy like I did, and then start writing in the one that you're going to use. And then if you decide you want to just start new some point, you can start new with the backup. But,
right. Yeah, you could put hyperlinks to your past successes too, like the various successes list. Like if you wanted something like I just mentioned there, some time in the past when you just solved a problem that you were struggling with for a long time and couldn't figure it out, and then finally, aha, you figured it out. You could put a link to that one.
Right. Well, that's why there's 15 links on each page. So there's 6 pages, and each of the 6 pages has 16 links to other parts in the page, and then it brings you back. You hit the back button, it'll take you back, or the home button next to each section. It'll take you back to the one level up, and so they're all there. But you could link even those, within the line items. For example, past successes, you could wrote, hey, I won the football game or whatever. Or my team won the soccer game. But you could also put a link to, a YouTube page or, photograph or, whatever you wanted to. You could probably link it there further, so it becomes kind of like a master index.
Here's a YouTube video where I talk about this, or here's a YouTube video where Benjamin Hardy is talking about that, whatever. Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea.
As you index your work, I mean, one of the things that would be exciting about it was that idea of the second mind is having, an index that has links to a lot of these things, like Phil was showing with this group, that they have an index of a lexicon of all the stuff that's kind of there. But your YouTube videos, for example, or your classes could become an extension of someone's mind, where if they're not clear about how they're thinking, they click on it, it takes them right to that.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, use this for yearly planning, or use this for talking to your future self, or use this for motivation. You're not feeling motivated? Click on the episode that relates to motivation.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's perfect, because that's my intention, is to have all these videos be useful for people, and of course they're only useful if people can find the information, right? Like I mentioned a minute ago, if you can't find your toolbox with the Phillips screwdriver in it, then it's just like you don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that.
Anthony, I love the illustration of scoring a touchdown, because that's what I put on my success list. Is I actually have memorably scored a touchdown with over 1,000 people watching me do it. When I was in college, I was involved in a non-campus group, and it was back in the 60s, and the dean of students had us pose the challenge to have a group from the other, was the pro Vietnam War group, and so it was during the lunch hour, and there was about 1,000 people around this field in the middle of the campus, and I got behind the defenders and caught a pass over my shoulder that ended up in a photograph on the front page of the campus newspaper.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great win.
Wow.
So you're a winner. You're a champ.
Yeah, so I go back to that. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about the feelings that I had with that and how exultant I felt about the whole thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it is great, and so it's brilliant. That idea that you can, and this is what I got from Paul Meyer, right? The past successes list. I can't remember if that's my invention or his, but I think his workbook that I got as a part of this course that I took from his company, there was something in it about past successes, I think. And after working with the worksheets, for like I say, 3-4 months every day, then I was kind of like, aha, now I see what these are for. Or at least what I used them for, right? And I'm assuming he used them for the same thing, because, there's nothing quite as motivational as remembering and, really re-experiencing, right? Re-experiencing those feelings. And, I noticed that when Naomi put into the chat group that she had retired, right? Do you remember her comment?
It's there in the messenger chat.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I got it right in front of me. If you want me to read it, but I can't recall it. But I see
what
it.
does she say?
She says, "We'll be late to the call. Can't say so. Wanted to share that I'm officially retired! Exclamation! 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 My ... My number one goal manifested only through your teachings." That's what she said. Oh, what a feeling!
Oh, what a feeling!
Oh, what a feeling!
Right.
Just got some emojis here of the kitty cats and smiling.
So what I was going to say to Naomi, and I didn't say it, but I'll say it. Well, I'll say it now. She can watch this now. But what feeling was it? Remember that feeling, right? Because the feeling is the thing that puts you into the place, puts you into the scene, right? Like when you remember that football game, Phil, and you remember when you remember catching that football, there's various ways that you can remember it. For example, you can remember it from the perspective of somebody who's like watching the game from 100 feet in the air like a bird, right? Or you can imagine it from the perspective as if you were looking through the eyes of a person in the audience, in the crowd. And if your girlfriend at the time happened to be watching, you could look through her eyes, right? And you could get the feeling, my boyfriend, he's such a fantastic guy. I'm so proud of him, right? So now, all of those different choices that you have, they all have a little different flavor to them and a little different feelings, right? And so the idea, or at least one idea that's very powerful. I mean, it's powerful just to remember it. But if you remember it as though you're 100 feet in the air like a bird watching it, generally speaking, the feelings aren't there. The idea is there, the memory's there, right? You can remember, you can see it, but there's not a lot of intensity to it. But if you remember it as though you're in your body, catching that ball over your shoulder, and then you suddenly, you realize, hey, I'm actually going to be able to get over the line here, and you spike the ball in the end zone maybe, and you hear the crowd bring all the sound and the images and the feelings. And how did you feel when you heard the crowd cheering? Phil, 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 really intensify the whole thing, right? And if you do that, if you were to do that like every day for 5 minutes for like a week or two, man, that would start to trigger neuroplasticity, and that would become a really powerful memory, much more so than just like football touchdown on a piece of paper, because it has that intensity and it has the images and the sounds and the feelings and then the meaning, what meaning do you put on it? And the meaning, and this is the thing, you see, the meaning is your choice. But if you chose a meaning like, I'm a great team player, or people can trust me to do well if I have the opportunity, people can pass me the ball, they know I'll do well with it, I mean, all of those meanings, you can think of 100 different meanings for that thing, and choose the one or the few that have the most inspiration, motivation, the best positive feeling about it, and like Anthony Robbins says, put your body in that state, where you're listening to the crowd and you're feeling like $1,000,000, right? So you can really make it intense. Bring all your senses in. That's great.
It's interesting. I was just putting together a little sheet here while you're talking that was, typically you look at the success list and then you've got, something that motivates yourself on in your goal for finances or for social or whatever that might be, relationship. But it would be interesting to put together a sheet here that was with all the feelings. So you have a feeling, proud, for example. What makes you proud? What makes you happy and having... Well, I think you have that in there.
Well, the worksheet has the 3 columns, right?
Yep. Let me look here. One second. I just was looking at it.
But I think what you're saying is it would be good to have, like, for example, let's say one of the meanings or one of the feelings of that football situation for Phil might be I'm a winner, right? I did a great job. Somebody, the quarterback passed the ball. I got through the opposing team. I caught the ball over my shoulder. I made it to the end zone. That was a huge score, right? A huge win. Well, if you put yourself in that state, then you'll remember other times in the past when you experienced a similar feeling.
Right.
Which might have been, sometime before, sometime after. Could be 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years apart, but they're going to be linked by that feeling. Because you remember one of the things that I mentioned in the past, and I'm going to put this under when I edit this video, I'm going to put it under the screen here as a slogan, right? Memories are state specific. You remember I used that before, right? I told you that before. So, so when you really get that feeling of, man, I'm proud of myself. I did a great job, I caught the pass. I got to the end zone. My girlfriend's going to be affectionate tonight, after the game, right? You get into that feeling, and you'll remember another time when you had the same feeling or similar feeling, right? And so you can bring, and I think this is what you were referring to, Greg, like get a spreadsheet where you maybe have 5 or 6 or 10 different situations, all with the same vibration, let's say, right? The same energy. And then, think about the football game. Think about the time you did this. Think about the time you repaired the bicycle, Think about the time you got the A on the exam. And think about the time that the teacher called you up in front of the class to read your paper because it was the best paper in the class, All of those things, you put them together, and it's like, man, you're pumped, You're feeling like...
Well, that's why you have that section, so you might have... past successes worksheet there, but then it goes into, what is the meaning and then the associated feeling, but it's by section. So financial, you might have a thing that made you proud, but you might have something in relationship that made you proud. You might have another in each of the different categories. Well, you bring them all together in a master list.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, it's kind of like a good neighborhood and a bad neighborhood. I mean, your good memories are a good neighborhood, right? Where you want your mind to go to. The bad neighborhoods would be everything that depresses you.
Yeah, well, this is the opposite side of it, right? Is thinking of things that bum you out. And of
Right.
course, we all have those situations too. And if we're not careful, we can get caught up in that spiral, right? Um, which which is something I was going to talk about today.
So
I'll
this
mention
is
it in
sort
a
of
few minutes.
it's sort of a self-esteem
Yeah.
buoying device, flotation device.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. It's like like you've experienced that memory, right? I mean, you experienced that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very powerful experience. So you don't want to forget it. You want to remember it. You want to go back there. You want to
Well, actually,
reinforce it.
I've used it. I've used that experience as a flotation device for years.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
I've
right.
held, there's some additional details. I not only caught that pass, I caught every pass that was thrown to me.
There you go.
Got about 5 or 6 of them during that game.
Yeah. So
And
that was
at the end of the game, we lost narrowly, and I had about 3 guys around me, but the time ran out.
right. Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? The meaning of the event is your choice. You can have it mean whatever you want, right? And if you think of it as we lost the game, that's a bummer. Well, then it's got kind of negative energy to it, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you say, well, hey, we lost the game, but I had a great performance. That was my best performance maybe of the whole season, right? And this is exactly the kind of thing that you hear when you watch sports, right? And they interview the team captain or the golfer or the tennis player or the pool player, after the event. And the guy says, well, I'm disappointed because I didn't win, but man, I hit a couple of great drives today. My drives are really coming along, so I'm happy about that, right? So they search for some positive in the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so there's a couple of things about this, and we've talked about this in the past, but think of in terms of your identity, right? Like this would be, you mentioned self-esteem, and of course you can use it to boost your confidence in your self-esteem and to motivate you to, figuratively, like metaphorically, get a few more touchdowns in your business. What would qualify as a touchdown in your business?
Mm-hmm.
Signing up another distributor or something, perhaps, right?
Right.
So you could kind of, have the meaning kind of be similar, and that would
Metaphor.
as a metaphor. That's right. So that can motivate you. So part of it is boosting your self-esteem, and another part is your identity. I'm a winner, right? As opposed to I'm a loser. So this is the way that we can use these worksheets and the visualization exercises that you have and that to boost your identity, your self-esteem, your confidence, your motivation, all of those things. For more information about this online community, to get your own copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, either the ebook, the paperback, or the audiobook, go to mindtimeandpower.com, where you can also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook.